Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you for taking the time to be here this evening. I'd like to call the Prop 218 hearing to order, 7 o'clock, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and it will be led by our General Manager, Chris Garner.
Please face the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Grade school.
They do it at all the public meetings now.
Lisa Squires for the roll call, please.
President Cordero.
Here.
Secretary McGuire. Johnson. Commissioner Shannon.
Here.
Commissioner Scott.
Present.
Vice President Rainey is absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you. I apologize that we're not a full board today. Got a message on the way over here that someone was not able to attend. Got some family health issues, so thank you, everyone. I'd like to open up the public hearing. It's a public hearing with the submission of public protests of a proposed increase of the city's water rates for the fiscal year 2023-24. The public hearing is now open, but before we do that, I'll have a few words. After Chris speaks, I'm going to have our General Manager, Chris Garner, give us a brief report. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're here tonight to conduct a Prop 218 hearing regarding the proposed adjustment to the water rates. These rates provide the revenue needed to meet the cost of operating and maintaining the high-quality water service to the nearly 500,000 people we serve in the city of Long Beach. Importantly, it is only water rates being adjusted. Once again, there's no adjustment being proposed for the rates for natural gas and no adjustment to the rates for sewer services. And as you may recall, there was also no rate increase last year to our water rates. I'll begin tonight by providing perspective on the complexity and breadth of our water utility services. Beginning well over 100 years ago, our city's water utility has been safely providing clean drinking water to our community. We accomplished this through maintaining over 1,500 miles of water pipeline infrastructure, operating a recycled purple pipeline system, maintaining and drilling new local water wells, operating the water treatment plant at Spring and Redondo, maintaining 30 large reservoir storage tanks, and critically, with about 200 water employees, including water quality scientists, engineers, water treatment operators, water resource specialists, pipeline construction workers, customer service representatives, call center personnel, accountants, and other office personnel. As we're all experiencing in our own lives, the operation of our water utility is impacted by the current inflation and pricing of goods and services seen across our country. This inflation impacts the cost to our utility in the purchase of imported water supplies, water treatment chemicals, electricity for pumping, infrastructure replacement, maintenance, and personnel costs. On top of this, we are aggressively reinvesting in our system. In fiscal year 24, we plan on reinvesting nearly $18 million in water pipeline improvements, nearly $12 million in reservoir and water treatment plant improvements, and nearly $10 million in local water supply improvements. The drilling of new water wells in Long Beach to decrease our reliance on imported water supplies from the Colorado River in Northern California. Not only does this increase our supply reliability, the cost for our locally produced water is half the cost for these imported supplies. This long-term strategy will save our customers millions of dollars over many decades to come. This year, we successfully drilled our first new water well in the past 20 years. We have at least 10 more new wells in the process of construction and design, as well as up to 20 existing water wells scheduled for rehabilitation over the next few years. To meet these challenges, so as to better able to reliably provide reasonably priced, safe drinking water for decades to come, it is proposed that the water rates be adjusted by 9%. This proposed rate adjustment comes after having conducted 4 in-depth public budget workshops in May and June of this year, in which the budgetary details were openly discussed before a commission. While any rate increase is not something any of us like, the need to reinvest into the betterment of our water system for the long-term benefit of our customers is a prudent investment. This is especially so considering that even with this proposed rate increase, our Long Beach water sewer bill will continue to be amongst the very lowest compared with almost all large cities in California. And with that, I turn it over to President Cordero.
Thank you very much, Chris. We will now, this concludes Chris's intro, and we now will open up the public comment period. If you haven't already done so, please fill out a form and you can give it to our executive assistant at the end here, and your name will be called once we receive that. Speakers will then come to the microphone, you'll state your name, and if we're asking, if you can, please limit to 3 minutes. Go over a little bit, that's fine, we're able to accommodate that. Staff and board members will be available after the public hearing to answer any of the questions. And if you've been to our public hearings before, you know that our staff stays around, and there's quite a few of them. Can I just ask our staff to raise our hand? So you can kind of look around the room and see how many people there are in the room. Please stay after if you have any questions, and you can ask them. The board executive assistant will now call public speakers to the microphone. Lisa?
The first speaker is Adriana Langston. You can come forward and speak into the mic.
Good evening, Water Commissioners. My name is Adriana Langston, and I dwell in a 126-unit Elevate Long Beach apartment complex at 90802. With climate catastrophe beginning to manifest worldwide, I understand the need for municipal infrastructure to be updated to capture more water from more frequent once every 100-year storms and to reserve more water from more frequent once every 100-year droughts. I understand that these updates need to be funded. My protest is not against the 9% increase per se. My protest is against the fact that the 9% increase is not being accompanied by efforts to force property owners to stop wasting water. I used the watercommission@longbeach.org email address to send my protest letter where I detailed and documented my own efforts to solicit every single form of government and or regulatory agency I could bring to bear pressure on the owners of Elevate Long Beach Apartments to address an issue that is causing all 126 units to waste water every single day due to inconsistent hot water. In the letter I sent you, I linked to videos of me standing by faucets in my unit, pointing a laser thermometer at the water coming out of the tap when the faucet was turned all the way to hot, and waiting sometimes over 5 minutes for the water to get over 100 degrees, never reaching 120. Each leasee gets a bill separate from the rent. That includes a prorated charge for all the water used by the building divided by 126 units. So I am paying for the gallons of water that go down the sink while I wait for the water to get hot enough to kill germs when I wash my hands. My own city councilwoman is a resident in my building, and she and her office met with residents to map out a strategy for how to get this issue addressed, as she faces the same hot water problems in her own unit. Her office advised me to contact code enforcement. I and 2 other tenants filed a complaint with code enforcement. Inspectors were sent to my unit but could not write a violation because they did not personally witness the problem on the date and time that they came. Supervisor Manuel Rivas told me that unless it happened right when the inspector was there was nothing code enforcement could do. I communicated with the head of the water department, Chris Garner, asking if there was a process for filing a water waste complaint against Elevate based on the gallons upon gallons of water going down the drain as tenants wait for the water to get hot. He said that he hoped in the future municipalities would give water departments the regulatory power to sanction multi-dwelling units that are wasting water in a way he admitted Elevate was, but for now that was not the case. I wrote to the actual company that owns but does not manage the building. I got a letter back from the law office that represents the company telling me that the problem is fixed. The videos to which I link in my email to you, Water Commissioner, show that this is not true. If I were a property owner rather than a renter, I could install an electricity zapper right at each sink that would instantly heat the water before it comes out of the tap. As a renter, I can make no such modifications. I could rip out all of the landscaping and replace it with a rock garden or native plants to offset the water loss from the sinks. As a renter, I have no control over landscaping. Water Commissioners, I hope from my protest letter that I truly hope you read in full and look at the documentation that goes along with it, you can understand how any increase in the water bill will fall more heavily on renters since they have way less control over water waste. That's why I cannot support this 9% increase until or unless it is accompanied by a written into policy commitment by the water department to crack down on landlords who keep their properties in such a way that it forces their tenants to waste water for which the tenants are paying. Thank you.
Thank you, Adriana. Thank you for that information.
Next speaker is Kathleen Adams.
Hello, I want to thank you very much for all your service and appreciate you every day. I open my tap. Thank you. My name is Kathleen Adams, and regarding the water increase, I request that the Long Beach Water and Long Beach Utilities website show where our funds are currently going in a transparent form, like what is the structural budget for ongoing maintenance, labor, trucks, and emergency versus planned maintenance, because I don't have any sense at all about why, I mean, other than I know we've been in a deficit, where did the money go and how is it being spent and what was done to, you know, be efficient? Maybe it's there and I just can't find it. I went to the water website to look. Also, I request to see a forecast for future rate increases over the next 20 years and why you think so. I request because I have a budget that I live on as a retiree, and I don't have a budget for water increases right now. But if I need to, I will. Also, I want to see the risk plan for our water. How is it being protected to be safe? Thank you for, I mean, it's been safe so far, and I love the newsletters I get. Really appreciate it. But we are currently in a proxy war with other nations, and I feel we are at a serious risk. I request to see the forecasted water demand for the next 50 years because, you know, have you seen how our population is growing? It's nuts. Anyway, please do that. 5 years is a great start, but let's do more. I request that because that correlates to the future water increases. Is it possible to have a flat water rate for up to a certain amount to cover that structural budget for everyone who's over 50K a year? Is it including landlords who are, you know, making an income? Is it possible that we know what property location the share of cost would be for water usage and maintenance? In other words, property costs, like every piece of property in Long Beach has a average coverage for the structural budget. Is it possible to have a flat rate for people by census head just to get a feel of why or whether money's going? I'm looking for a non-op rate. If I have a piece of property I don't need water, can I get that rate? Because I'm still needing the maintenance for future use. And then a flat rate for all households over 50, I already said, a flat rate for business level 1, which is professional, doesn't use a lot of water, and a flat rate for high volume to cover all the water expenses. And this again is just to get a feel for where this budget's coming from, because I don't have a feel. Is it possible to have Bluetooth sensors on our faucets so I can tell from the water coming into my house that has the meter if I'm leaking or not, so then I can fix it, because right now I have no idea. Unless I stand there and take a meter reading every day, which, sorry, I guess I could do that, but that's, anyway. Okay, thanks. And I did email you, there's more. So
Thank you. Thank you. We have received your email and we'll all be receiving that. Thank you for that.
Okay, next speaker is Captain Jeff Halberter.
I'd like to thank you all for being here and for allowing us to speak and for all of us protesters to try to get more sense of the budget. Obviously I don't want a dirt yard. I have kids, I have neighbors. I've done everything I can to save water, from water jelly crystals that you absorb the water and that displace in your yard and plants. But my concern was the recycling of the water that is at the end of the line of the fire hydrants, if it's still being purged off into the street or if it's being recycled into tanks. Because I know that at the end of certain fire hydrants and water lines that they have to purge it to clear the lines for sediment or whatever it may be. And I'm just wondering if that was something that was being addressed. Because I know that in the past that was something that was practiced. Other than that, good luck to us all.
Thank you. Thank you. Good question about fire hydrants. I think we might be able to have an answer for that too.
The next speaker is James Frederick.
So I'm a fairly new resident here, but I appreciate you guys allowing us this chance to comment. I resonate with you know, all the waste that's going on. There's still a lot of waste that goes on here in Long Beach that I can see, and you know, just the other speaker bringing up her issues with the leasing companies is a big one. We also, I built a structure on my property recently. I was required to capture the rainfall, which does nothing during the rains, and they only require me to put, you know, a 55-gallon drum. We need to have better management of that because it really is not very effective. To have that law in the building requirements for us is not really doing anything to help with what we need to do for the water, because what do I end up doing with the water later? I have to dump it anyway. Oh, sorry. So So I just wanted to make sure I got some of those things out, and again, I appreciate what you guys are doing here for us, and all that you're doing for our city, and that you're trying to get us independent of other resources of water. I love that you're trying to get these other wells in, so more power to you, and thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Scott Weinstein.
Well, I wasn't really ready for anything, but, yeah, I do, you guys were saying save water, so I have the 55-gallon barrel. I stripped my front yard, took me 6 weeks, and have cacti and succulent and whatnot. I have a pail in my shower that I collect the cold water when I turn on the shower and use that for whatever plants that I have in the yard. And still, I'm seeing, 9%, that's a pretty good jump. That's quite a surprise considering all the conservation. They put a new well in over there in Stearns Park, I think, right? So, I mean, are we running in a deficit? Can I ask a question and get feedback?
We'll do that after.
Okay.
Yeah, but
And I
we're
wanted
writing
to
this
know,
down, so.
like, for instance, you get paid, right? A salary?
No.
Or you
We
volunteer?
get no, we're appointed and we get a compensation, like, per meeting.
Oh, okay, right.
So it's
Nobody's
not a
salary?
salary, no.
Okay.
Well,
I think
yeah.
you understand where I was gonna ask that question.
Of course.
Why? But, we got the rebate back because of some mismanagement of monies about 2 years ago. And we did have an increase, last year and the year before. And now this says it is effective. It doesn't say proposed. So we're standing here talking, but it's embedded. It's gonna be on our bill come October 1st. It says effective, right there, effective, not proposed.
Yeah, I think
So
the
why
way
are we
that's
here?
the way that's written, I can see where it'd be confusing, but this has to go to city council. And city council approves or doesn't approve it.
Well, I do know what the definition of effective is.
Yeah.
Poorly written.
Compared to proposed.
Somebody said that on the next door too.
Thank you. We'll take a look at that too.
Done.
Thank you.
You can't be a miracle. Thank you.
And our final speaker is Scott Lostraco.
Hi. I didn't really prepare like some of y'all did. Maybe I could have talked about it.
I know, right?
And yeah, 9% is quite a big difference, and that's an issue. I have 2, 3, 4, like 6 55-gallon water barrels. I'm not really going to be affected that much because I don't use too much water, but people that do, yeah, it's a huge deal. So I want to know why it's that much all at once and couldn't be some kind of a ladder of this where it starts out at this amount and we see how it goes. I know that infrastructure needs to be handled. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but better clarity. Somebody did say more transparency to see where these funds are going and what happens when we do get this proposed underwater more wells used here instead of bringing this stuff out from other places. Okay, well, when that happens, is that gonna level it off for 20 years? We're not gonna see these kind of increases. So that's something that I would be interested in, getting a question about. And yeah, I understand that tomorrow or it starts. So is it gonna be retroactive then? If it, I mean, they set a date in stone as this is the increase, and I understand just to get the money right away. But yeah, that is kind of an interesting comment that he had too. So if you can elaborate on why it's that, and it starts right now after not having anything to do with us and what we have said. That's it. That's what I was saying.
So the president has asked me to clarify. So what happens after tonight's hearing, assuming that the protest isn't overheld by the state attorney, it goes to the city council on September 5th, for final approval. So the council can either say, do not implement the rate increase, or they approve the rate increase. So it would, and then if the council approves it, it would not go into effect until October 1st.
Right. I mean, Bobby, but I mean, it should have said proposed, not effective.
What you're looking at is the actual rates sheets.
Yeah.
The rate sheet is effective October 1st,
And it
but
has
the
the
whole rate
increase.
sheet is proposed, and that's the cover sheet of that.
Got it.
Oh, and one quick, Long Beach is shrinking. It's lost almost, what, 18,000 people in the last 10 years.
So the number of people we have to supply water for is going down.
Went from something like 470 to 453 or something, or 457 or some number like that.
Okay, thank you. I've taken some notes, and I'm sure Chris has also, and this is being taped, right? Okay, thank you for those who spoke. It's always kind of an awkward thing where we're not able to respond or to answer. So typically what will happen is we'll make a few comments. I have some comments to make. I'll ask the commissioners if they have any comments. And then we stick around after. We do want to get answers to you. We do want you to better understand what we're dealing with when we make these decisions. Let me ask if any of the commissioners would like to say something. Anyone? You okay?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. Okay. All the issues that were brought up are at the top of our heads also. First of all, climate change. I sit on the board of Metropolitan Water District, which serves 19 million people. Affordability is one of those discussions that we're having quite a bit, and it's under the premise of climate change. And things like forecasting and demand and population are all those things that the 6 counties are all looking at so that they can do exactly what you have asked us to do, is to make projections, make better decisions on where we spend our money, how we spend it, and rate increases. So we do appreciate it. Leaks is huge. We do have a system, if you have a smart meter, where you will get text. If you have a smart meter, you'll get a text saying that you had an overage on your water usage for the day. But if you're not paying, if you don't have a meter, I don't think then you can, right? Is that correct, Chris?
Correct. They have to have a smart meter.
Okay. So there's an issue, but you raised some really interesting points, and I like to think of things with a higher vision, and I'd like to work with, I'm assuming it's Councilmember Allen.
No, it's Mary Zendejas.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, Mary Zendejas. Okay, then I'll talk to Mary Zendejas also. The issue of affordability is, like I said, being looked at. A discussion was held at Metropolitan about the possibility of doing a low-income rate assistance program. We don't have that. We only do that for seniors and disabled, correct? Okay, Edison is able to do that for low income. Low income, they have a category that they're able to do that. We do not have that. The state is looking at that for the state. We make decisions based on what the staff gives us. We trust them, we believe them in terms of forecasting what their needs are going to be for the year. We didn't have a rate increase last year in water. We went with a 9%. There was discussion to go higher, and we didn't do that. So we do understand that it's difficult and times are hard, but we're dealing with things like climate change, decrease in demand, but an increase in revenues. So and having things you have to pay for, so we have to be careful with that. So anyway, we're going to have our attorney make a couple of comments.
Before I make comments, President Cordero, can you just confirm that public comment is closed for purposes of the hearing?
Okay, our public protest period is now closed. Thank you. All right. Yes, go ahead.
See if I get this right.
Okay, I just have a couple of very brief comments to make. We're not here to make speeches, but one thing I'd like to make clear is, and I don't vouch for the wisdom of this Prop 218 scenario. that is very difficult for the public to understand. We have already made a decision, okay? Understand that, please understand that, we're not playing games with you. We've already made a decision. That decision is to go with a 9% raise. And that decision was reached after many, many meetings at which you had the ability to come and to dispute and make any comments you might wish to make. That's where you should make your complaints. And try to remember that next year, because effectively, it's going to be very, very difficult to override our decision. The numbers, I don't have the exact numbers, but those numbers would be very, very difficult to overcome. So remember that next year. The second thing, and I want to really emphasize this, is every year I sit through here, this is my 10th year, and I never fail to be impressed by the courtesy and the kindness of every single speaker that comes to the podium. I'm really impressed with you people, and I'm not just blowing smoke here. I'm really impressed. Thank you. You are the public. You are the public that we serve. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, just a couple of closing things. I want to echo what Commissioner Shannon said. I live in the 5th district. We're all from different districts. What district are you in, Commissioner Shannon? I'll say one here,
District 4.
Four. And then Kevin's in 2. Okay, Commissioner Scott's in 2. We try to do our best. We really do, and we all have the concern of our residents in front of us, and it's tough. It's tough to make decisions about raising rates, and we have discussions at our meetings. And I really encourage you next year. Some of you know a lot more about water than I did before I got on here, so I'm impressed as you are, Commissioner Shannon, with your knowledge and your interest. So thank you for that. So. Again, we don't take this lightly. We take it very seriously. We do wish that more people would come. So please, come to the meetings, even throughout the year, just to kind of better understand the things that are going on and the decisions that we make. Some of it's kind of mundane. We have to approve a few little things here and there, and some of them are larger. But we do have other policies that we look at. So we hope to see you at another time. I'm going to turn it back to our city attorney.
Thank you. So this evening we received, and during the course of the protest period, which is now closed, we received a total of 272 protests, both verbal and written. 44 of those were mail-in letters, 218 were emails, and 10 were in-person comments this evening, protests this evening, none of which have been certified by the city clerk. But even assuming that all of these protests were certified by the city clerk, this number does not represent a majority of our ratepayers, which is about 45,001. And so therefore this protest is unsuccessful. Therefore, you've heard a little bit about the process. The proposed increase will be considered for final approval by the City Council at its meeting on September 5th. And if the City Council approves the proposed increase on September 5th, then the new rates adopted by this board on June 26th will take effect on October 1st, 2023. No further comments from the City Attorney's Office.
Okay, thank you everyone. Like I said before, we are going to stick around. If you have any questions, we have a lot of our staff members here, and we'll be here for a little bit too. So with that, again, thank you all. Have a great evening.
All right, dear. Thank you for driving me. I appreciate it.